Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast, episode number 369. I'm your host, Jose. Thank you for listening and watching. Today's episode is with Rebuild the Block, and we're sitting down with CEO Nathan. He was fantastic to talk to. I'm going to specify that he was in his car on a hot day with the AC on. So this one might be a little bit noisy, but we hope that you guys enjoy the conversation, to say the least. The Rebuild the Block is actually specializing in rebuilding homes, and now they're working on doing a little bit more of like new construction. So this episode is going to be a lot of talking about real estate and home ownership here in the Valley. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. That'll lead us into a little bit of the business side. You can hear every episode of Finding Arizona Podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us and tell us who you want in next. Social media is Finding Arizona Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You let us know who you want in next, and we'll try and make that happen. If you want to send us an email at findingarizonapodcast@gmail.com, you can go ahead and do so. That helps us stay connected with you guys. If you want to join the newsletter, that's available on the website. If you want to get a little bit more personal with Britt and I and our family, go over to the vlog. It is available over at YouTube along with a lot of other episodes. That has been fantastic for connecting with our family and just sharing with everyone what we are about and what we use on a daily basis, and sharing a little bit about our son Atlas, who will soon become my co-host for this podcast, I hope. Fingers crossed. But he's doing fantastic. Just to give you guys a little bit of update on our family life, he is actually doing a lot of classes, and he is doing a lot of like dance class and library class and a lot of learning, educating. It's a lot of fun. We hope that you guys are staying cool this summer as the summer months end and we head into the hectic time of the fall season. We are going to try our best to get out of the house and be more live broadcasting to events and things like that. I hope you guys stay tuned and enjoy those little things that we do here for the social media and for the podcast itself. That is going to lead us into this very special episode number 369 with Rebuild the Block. We will catch you on the next episode, and as always, kisses, hugs, and belly rubs. See ya.
Is a no woman.
She's ambitious.
She is a juggling life.
Oh, she is high performing.
She's self-made.
Definitely busy.
Woman supporter.
Cares about the rooms that she's going into.
Building an empire.
Definitely working in a male-dominated industry.
She is competitive.
And cares about impact.
And she's inspired by the word now.
Oh, completely relentless.
She is self-made.
She is a badass.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. As always, we bring in fantastic guests. Ladies and gentlemen, since 2013, our guest here today has been rebuilding the block, as you would say, in his line of work. He is the owner and I guess co-founder. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is Nathan Anderson, and he is behind Rebuild the Block, and he's also done some real estate work, I believe, as well, right, Nathan?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a little bit more than just a GC. We kind of have a little bit of a real estate conglomerate that focuses on real estate and development, which I'm sure we'll get into here shortly.
Awesome. Sounds really good. And thank you again for just taking some time. As you can see, he's in his vehicle. He's out and about in the world today, and I'm very excited to just grab him for a couple of minutes here. And so we're just going to ask you the question that we typically ask everyone when we start off these conversations is, give us a little bit of the origin story behind Rebuild the Block and just how this all came into your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll condense it, but for a long time I knew that I wanted to run a business, and I didn't quite know exactly how to do that as, a young 20-year-old, going through school. And I had an opportunity to get hired on by another entrepreneur that I knew through a family friend. And I was running actually a large format print company for him out of college, but had no ownership or anything like that. And he was a great mentor to me, ultimately showed me a lot of the dynamics of what it would take to own a business. Soon after that, I had an opportunity to go into software sales in the Bay Area where I grew up, which is kind of not related to anything that I do today. And that really gave me the platform to be able to take some extra time to start formulating a plan of what I wanted to do. Now, my dad was a GC, and I had worked with him over the summers. But he's kind of a doer, so he didn't teach me a lot about the trades. And I just kind of said, hey, I'll never be a GC. But one of the things that was fundamental to our upbringing and the success that my dad had was real estate. And he had some rentals and stuff. And he kind of was flipping homes before they were really flipped. He never really sold them. He kind of just kept them as rentals.
Yeah.
And that kind of parlayed the idea that, hey, I could probably start flipping homes.
Nice.
Fast forward a little bit. And, it was really difficult to figure out how to do that in my early 20s in the Bay Area. I mean, I could barely buy the first condo that me and my wife were living in. And so I had a really, really good friend down here in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I had come down here for his wedding and some other things and said, it would be really good to invest in Arizona real estate. It's affordable. I think that it's something I could swing. And so the next time my friend came home for the holidays, I reached out to him and said, hey, I'd like to start working on flipping homes. And he said, he's like, I think that's a great idea. And it took off from there. We had the conversation a few days after Christmas, 2013, excuse me. And ultimately, within 4 months, we were able to put together a game plan, bootstrap some financing by pulling out a HELOC on the condo that we had owned at the time, because it had appreciated in value. And that allowed us to be able to buy our first home on the county courthouse steps via auction. And that's kind of how the beginning of the company started. It was kind of just a side hustle, something that I wanted to do in addition to the software sale business that I was a salesman for.
Oh, wow. So do you mind if I ask where apart, like when you were just starting off, where you were at located wise, and then how you wound up in Arizona? I mean, we already know how you wound up, but it's like, what was that transition like, moving most of your family and your, just moving over here and the change that kind of came with that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I actually stayed in the Bay Area for about 4 years while I started my business. So this really good friend I had, he had a lot of trade experience. He was very, very skilled carpenter, as well as, he could do everything in the trades. And so he was boots on the ground out here. And it kind of went something like this. I mean, twice a week we had meetings and we started putting together agendas. And I actually went back and I looked at some of those agendas this year, and we kind of say, okay, so what do we have to do if we want to buy a house? And so we started working our network and reaching out to people. And I would have lunches in the Bay Area with some people that did that in the Bay Area as well as in other states. And he would have, lunches and phone calls with contacts he had down here. And so, the transition took about 4 years for us to get down here full time. And the main reason for that is, as mentioned before, it was just a side hustle, it was like, hey, I know that there's money to be made in real estate. Let's see how this goes. And so we met with someone in our network that basically bought homes for investors on the county steps. And so so that's kind of what we did. He was out every Saturday looking at 10 or 15 homes that might or might not go to auction. And ultimately, when we would find a few that we were interested in, if they would go to auction, we would set a price of what we were willing to pay for it. Yeah. And then when we go to town, that's not specifically the question you asked. Is that transition? It's I guess a little longer of a story.
Yeah. No. It totally works.
To get down here.
I love that.
So that's it was a slow burn. I mean, fast forward, we flipped probably a dozen or so homes, and we didn't really like it. It was like putting lipstick on a pig. My previous business partner, which I did buy out eventually, he was very meticulous on putting together a quality product, and it's really hard to do that. Flipping homes in the call it $200,000 to $500,000 range. There's not a lot of margin there to be able to actually do something that's substantial, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward a bit, after doing some flips, we realized that we'd start following some people that were very influential in some of the luxury market spaces in Arizona, specifically Arcadia.
Yeah.
Around Camelback Mountain, Paradise Valley, those areas. And, I just turned to my partner at the time and said, hey, is this something that we can do? Can we do this? He's like, yeah, we absolutely can. We'll have to increase and get a full license to do full residential rebuilds, but definitely feasible. So we took it down that path.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, we finished our first two, basic ground up construction projects. And then we were on our third, and that's when I decided to make the jump down here to AZ, to get closer to the business, so on and so forth. And so that's how that transition worked. It took us, about 4 years before I felt comfortable enough actually, moving my family down here. As far as the transition period, it was really interesting. I worked for software sales, and I was working a full-time job. I was commuting down here probably once a month, checking on operations. And then obviously in the evening times after I would get off my sales job, which focused on the East Coast. So I was lucky enough to get off about 2:30, Pacific time. So it would allow me some time to be able to establish the business.
Awesome.
And so long story short, we made the jump down here, and I was lucky enough to keep my software gig for a little over a year while I was down here.
Okay.
Which really helped to ensure the longevity of our company, right? Because, I was getting a paycheck. We were paying my business partner a salary to take care of day-to-day operations. And, truth be told, I didn't take any money from the company for 3 years.
Wow. That's just a testament of like what you kind of have to be willing to sacrifice or do for your business in the early ongoings. I just want to say, first off, what an incredible transition and story that you guys are doing to make sure that you guys are staying afloat, first off, and being well aware of kind of what it takes to manage. You kind of have to put your hands in both ends. You're burning the candlestick at both ends, so to speak. And so that is just one of those things that I'm just curious about from a kind of early on standpoint from most business owners, is because it does happen. You do have to work multiple gigs just to make things kind of float on for the first couple of years. I know that we're still in that midst of I'm working full time, my wife's working full time, and we're still this. We haven't made any kind of real money per se or salary from doing this podcast, but I love doing this. I've always said that this has been my passion and where my calling, so to speak, because I love hearing these stories and I love learning from my community. This is just something that I will continue on doing until I'm an old man and can't do it anymore.
Labor of love, man.
Exactly. Labor of love. And I started this out of grad school, and this was one of those situations where I'm like you had the large scale printing. I was doing screen printing t-shirts for, the business owners who wanted t-shirts for their employees or for giveaways, just merchandise. And I would, just talk to them and ask them what are they about, and just hearing all these incredible stories and what they've been through is just one of those things where I was like, man, I really want to help you out. Why aren't you getting more publicity, or why aren't you getting more, this or that? And it's always came back to, it's too expensive. It's too hard. And I was like, it just doesn't seem fair. So I took it upon myself to make this podcast as an opportunity to hear those stories and give them an opportunity to tell theirs. I'd love to just kind of really take a moment and just architecture in the Bay Area is totally different than it is here in the Valley. What have you noticed just from a kind of standpoint of that portion? You are, if you look on your website, more of a modern build kind of, and I'd love to just get your grasp of what that was like for you going away from what these probably were huge builds that were hundreds of years old, or if not more modern homes in the Bay Area on a day-to-day kind of thing. Then now you're dealing with these in your particular area, 50s and 60s ranch style homes.
Yeah. So it's real interesting. When we first got started, it was all under roof, renovation, and we quickly positioned ourselves into the new build space. And, you know, that's where we find ourselves, you know, day in and day out at this point. And so there's really been a transition. I mean, at first it's just, you're trying to figure it out, you know, like we've always stand by like quality and craftsmanship, like, you know, keep craft alive is one of our, you know, core purposes as a company. But, you know, we've shifted from building like trendy homes. So, you know, at first we kind of saw what the trends were, and a lot of them were like this rustic farmhouse, right? That people were building, you know, call it 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And it started shifting from that rustic to more of a modern farmhouse. And so the way that I put it is, you know, we were really focused on like on trend design. And now we're more focused on things that we feel are more architecturally significant, and really like more of the cutting edge or like design forward thinking versus design trendy, right? Yeah. And so, so that's one of the things that's really unique about development, right? You know, so on a lot of our projects, you know, 70%, 75% of what we do is, you know, we buy it, we tear it down, we build it, we sell it, right? Yeah. So the nice thing with that is that you get to determine what it is that you get to build, right? Now, obviously, you got to keep in mind what the market will bear. But at the end of the day, like something that really intrigues me is architecture. Early on in my career, I thought I'd be an architect, you know, and decided that wasn't the path for me. But, you know, now I find myself being able to work with architects to be able to design stuff that's a little bit more to the taste of what I want to build. And a lot of that doesn't exist in Phoenix, right? You know, we are trending to more of a modern design. More recently, we kind of did our version 1 of what we call our Scandinavian modern. Scandinavian ranch is kind of what we've coined it. And all 3 of those have sent, well, 1 sold, 2 are under contract currently. Nice. And now we're building our next version, which is more, it's Scandinavian, but it's more like Australian architecture. It's bringing in some of the more like modular like form to building, which trends more to modern. And we think that that's going to be a very hot ticket because it helps to differentiate our builds from other builds. You know, we're not just, you know, throwing cookie cutter homes up and calling it a day. And there has been a lot of thought process behind that strategy for us, you know, but I would say that it's always been something that's intrigued me is architecture in general. And you know, I think that today's design, because of the influences that we have, social media and all those types of things, the trends, they move a lot more rapidly than what they did in decades of past. You know, like, you know, what is today's, you know, design aesthetic? Well, there's a lot of influences from a lot of different areas. So one of the things that we focus on is trying to stay true to the design intent that we're trying to put together. So when we're thinking of conceptuals, like our project Alta, which is our Aussie modern, it definitely has a lot of like characteristics of like Australian architecture. And then we have our Duo project, which is what we call our coastal modern. And that actually, you know, runs more modern, like some of the coastal communities that you would see in New Zealand or in some of these, you know, other areas of Australia. And obviously we don't have a coast here, but we do have Camelback Mountain. And that's what we've considered, most people determine as Arizona's beachfront property, is that iconic little mountain range that sits in the middle of some of these luxury spaces around here central in the valley.
Yeah. You know, in all honesty too, you're kind of hitting pinpoints of like areas where the dry element, where it's heat and dry heat and things like that, where shade is a kind of a necessity, and the architecture is important to providing that level of entertainment and joy for the homeowners, is that be providing your spaces in those outdoor activities and providing almost kind of this indoor outdoor living style. Coastal is more of like you were saying in that Australia effort. But yes, you know, these types of architecture really provide an understanding of like, look, we're in a different element climate than most of the United States that provide, you know, we have an opportunity here if we think ahead or use design, our intelligence to really look, we got to, you know, provide these opportunities for these homeowners and make them last longer, be intentional about our design. So thank you for allowing me to just kind of grasp a little bit of your style and understand where you guys are pulling from, because it does help the listeners and whoever's going to listen to this is just, where are they, honing in from? And it really does help us because I was looking at your website and looking at some of the builds that you have done, and I really do enjoy it. I find it very fascinating and interesting because I'll let you know, I'm a landscape architect. I actually work, that's my 9 to 5 sort of deal. That's what I do for a living. Is I work as a landscape architect. So I totally am on board because I thought I was going to be an architect. I was really fascinated with architecture in school, and then I pivoted to the LA side, and I never turned back from that. And so I do. Being a homeowner myself, I do find it fascinating. Architecture draws me in a little bit more and more every day because I'm looking to rebuild and do some construction around here and open this up because we are an expanding family and growing. I just had I have a 2-year-old right now. And so, wanting to provide for him more space and opportunity to grow in this house that we've, kind of said to ourselves, this is our forever home. We love this whole space. We got married in the backyard. So wanting to bring an element of something new and having an opportunity to not only provide a stamp of like, this is our legacy, this is our home, and we want to make it fresh and give it some new light. That's something I've always been wanting to try and do. So I'd love to talk to you off air about some stuff that we want to do, but we'll continue our conversation into kind of, just the culture of rock the block and what you provide to some of, the employees or who you have, with you as your tradespeople. What is that relationship building like? And what is that, what are you looking for as far as either an employee or as a tradesperson that comes on and wants to team with you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So that's actually a topic that's, really close to and very important to myself being in the trades. I do have a college background as well in organizational communication, and it's done well for me. Like, I don't actually use that as much as, I thought I might. But, we sit on 3 core purposes. I mentioned the first, which is, build a high quality home, keep craft alive.
Yeah.
In the negative stigma of the building industry, which we can get into a little bit. And the third is provide opportunities for those that want to be in the trades. And that's probably the most important to me. And I say that because, it's tough, right? I mean, for literally the last 3 or 4 decades, we've seen basically a push away from the trades. Like, hey, it's not good to be in the trades. Don't go into the trades. You don't want to work with your hands. Go to college, go to school. And it's really tough because, people still want beautiful homes. People still want a high quality product. But one of the things that I think resonates with a lot of our clients is that, there's only about 10% of any given industry that companies within any given industry that actually are great companies, right? And that's what we try to aspire to be. Is we consider ourselves a very good builder, but we aspire to be a great builder. Yeah. And the only way to do that is to align ourselves with people that want to be in the trades. And that's the hardest thing. Is nowadays we find people just have found themselves in the trades. Yeah. And they don't really want to be there. And I've had multiple conversations with our team specifically. And, the trades need just as many, competent and college educated individuals in the trades than they do in standard small business environment, right? Like, we still need accountants that understand construction accounting. We still need, project managers. We still need people that can be able to get, these beautiful homes built, Yeah. And, in addition to that, like, I work with obviously, our accounting team, our marketing team that does our social media. So, like, there's a lot of opportunity that I feel like that people aren't like aware of that are within the trades, right? And I feel like there has been a push. I feel like there are more people that are reaching out and saying, hey, I don't want to be in the corporate environment. Like, I like the architecture and the design elements that you're doing. And so I have interesting conversations with people, on a weekly basis, maybe not daily, about them maybe making a career shift to more of a small business environment. And we have so much opportunity that's available to us. So, anyways, we really want to try to align ourselves with trade partners that want to lay tile, right? Like one of my questions when we are vetting out new trades, it's like, hey, like, so you're a concrete company. Do you love concrete, right? Like, and that sounds like a crazy question, but it's like, hey, if you hate what you're doing every day,
exactly,
like, how good is the product that you're going to be producing for us, right? Like, how much are you going to dive into problem solving and doing some of these things, or having good processes in place? And so, anyways, I think that you're going to see a shift, but to talk a little bit more directly, that's one of our focuses is really, aligning ourselves with the appropriate people that can be able to actually produce the product, because there's not very many good tradesmen, and people that want the product are going to be in for a little bit of a rude awakening when they realize how much it costs to get the level of detail that we provide at Rebuild the Block or other great builders in the Valley. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people, they're just trying to get, things done as cheaply as possible. And I feel like there's been a negative stigma that's been attached to those people in the trades, which is just, not great for our environment, but also, is a little bit of a travesty over the last couple of decades as people have moved away from this very rewarding and potentially profitable career path.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of understanding of if you're passionate about what you do, it shows really, and especially in the trades. I've seen it plenty of times, and you kind of come across certain elements of pavers and like you said, concrete and stuff like that, where it's just you want something quality, and you just have to understand that it comes with not only the actual tradespeople, but how passionate they are about it. And so it's and that first element of there's an issue, that's where the passion shows through, because the passionate ones are going to be like we got this, we can figure it out. This will be kind of the concluding end portion. And so when we get started on these last bits, we kind of like to ask about goals and things that we can help you achieve. Maybe our listeners can help you achieve. Are there any goals for Rebuild the Block that you have in mind that you want to let people know about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be in business if I didn't have goals, right?
Exactly.
So I think one of the biggest things, as mentioned earlier, we're trying to build things that are more architecturally significant. And to do that, all of our homes are built like custom homes. And none of them are cookie cutter. They're all separate designs. And so we've made a strong push and shift to start building custom homes for clients. And we'd like to get to a 50-50 split between customs and specs. So 6 specs a year, 6 customs a year is the goal. And that's a 3-year goal to get us to that point. And we want to align ourselves with people that, truly want something special and want something that's, true to the craft and wants a company that can be able to, communicate properly through the process with them. Because, it's a big undertaking. It's, a large purchase that most people will make. If they're not buying on the traditional real estate market. So, so that's been a big focus for us. And then more recently, we just rolled out our home maintenance plan. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't recognize. We haven't talked a lot about the real estate side of the house, but I'm an active real estate agent. I have a partner that's not associated with Rebuild the Block that takes all of our traditional sales. He handles acquisitions. He's full-time real estate. And anyways, long story short, we go to a lot of homes. We see a lot of homes, right? And the biggest thing in the real estate industry is deferred maintenance. Most people don't know how to maintain their home, or they're not willing to. And a lot of 90% of what happens to your home has nothing to do with warranty. It's all about maintenance, right? It's we know that with vehicle, car maintenance, you got to go oil changes. You got a 10,000 mile checkup and a 30,000 mile checkup and a 50,000 mile checkup, but we don't have anything that actually tells us when our home needs to be taken care of. And so, anyways, that's been a huge goal and undertaking. It's kind of the last piece of our vision board for a company, is to be able to help people on the real estate side either acquire a lot, if they're looking to build with us, or find a house that fits their criteria on the real estate side, all the way through our pre-construction agreement, which allows us to be able to help and be a key advocate for the client to get through permits and design, and then move on to building the custom home. And then obviously we hit that warranty period. but we also provide a maintenance plan that's an add-on to that warranty that allows us to be able to come and keep that home looking the way it did when our customers move in. So getting that rolled out has been huge, and we want to, obviously service as many of our clients that we can that buy our homes with that. So those are some of the goals that we have, is to really solidify, our previous clients that want this amazing service to take part in that.
Nice.
So those are kind of the main goals for us at the moment.
That's awesome. I love the kind of full spectrum of home ownership that you're trying to provide here, is just, from beginning all the way up to maintaining. And then that's important as well, because I can tell you now, as a homeowner, I'm just like the maintenance aspect is just getting more and more to-do lists and more, because we actually, if you can see, we have concrete floors, but what it ended up happening was along the kitchen, there was an issue with the piping, because it's an old 40s, 50s home. And back then they used steel piping instead of the PVC piping before, and it cracked, and we had to go get the concrete jack, and pulled out, and then they had to put in new one. We were out of the house, I think, almost a week, trying to stay out of their hair, because we have pets and animals here. So, that was definitely not the easiest thing, but we made it work, and we're still wanting to, for this house, we want to make sure that from the ground all the way up to the roof, we want it to be kind of maintained and it put into a more modern, livable, it's not going to deteriorate, updated, and that kind of flow of it. So I appreciate someone who understands and respects that and wants to provide that for their customers. So thank you, Nathan. I really do appreciate what you provide as a service on all the facets. Towards the end here, we're reaching. Now is your chance to let everyone know where they can find you online, email, anything like that. It's time to promote. So go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, you can find us on all the social media channels. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, which we've been promoting heavily. It runs through a lot of the nuances of construction. It's, people, that's the best way to get to know, what we stand for as a company, and really to do a lot of due diligence on, like, hey, this is who you're working with when you hire with Rebuild the Block. So our website's a great opportunity for people to also see some of the upcoming projects we have and the previous projects we have. And there's a ton of information on there about our company, and there's some form fills, obviously. So if there's any interest in, building custom with us, obviously fill out. We'll reach out and, chat through what that process looks like.
Yeah.
And, our goal is to just, try to create a one-stop shop that kind of smooths the rough edges of that undertaking of a custom build. And we think that we're positioned really well to do that. So check us out on all our social media. Definitely check out our YouTube channel. We look forward to hopefully helping anyone in the Valley here that's looking to build something that has quality built right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we go, we always have our little outro here at Finding AZ. You can find us and all our episodes at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us through social media. That's Finding Arizona Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to send us an email, findingarizonapodcast@gmail.com. And we always end every episode with the kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. We will see you next time.